a brief review of the vein selectors, what they're used for in the different shapes and how they would fit the anatomy. So we start off with the three shapes: the hook, which you don't use that often, the vertebral, which is used fairly frequently, and then the standard, which is included with the LVI subselector, the renal LVI subselector. The vein selectors are designed to be attached to a contrast injection system, as illustrated here. You have the Y adapter with a rotating hemostatic valve, so that once the vein selector is in the branch of interest, you can advance a wire into the branch or two. There's a contrast injection system which allows you to inject contrast into the vein selector. There's a three-way stopcock and then a reservoir syringe. So this is designed so that you can fill your contrast injection system from the reservoir syringe as you go along without having to take your contrast syringe off each time you need additional contrast. The shapes that are available: there's the hook shape. We don't use this that often, but it's incredibly helpful in a situation like this where you have a very acute takeoff. And these are two examples where the hook vein selector readily engaged the branch, and we were able to advance wires down and then advance the vein selector into the branch and then slide your subselector over that. The other branch, or the other shape that's useful, is the vertebral shape, and you can see that it has sort of a flat takeoff. And so when you have a branch with a flat takeoff like this posterolateral branch down here, the vein selector, the vertebral shaped vein selector, is quite useful. Typically these takeoffs are below Vuessen's valve, but you can see them anywhere. And so if you start a case and you open up the lateral vein introducer with a standard vein selector, I would advise you to go quickly to the vertebral shape rather than try to make the standard shape work. And then we have the standard shape vein selector illustrated here, which tends to work well for this sort of a takeoff. Now, we saw this branch, interestingly, because we did a selective injection of the vein using the vertebral vein selector, and it revealed a potential target which we didn't see on occlusive venography. And ultimately, this branch had high thresholds in phrenic pacing, and then we were able to place our pacing lead into this branch that we would have not been aware of had we not done selective venography of this initial target branch. So one of the other nice uses of the vein selectors is selective target vein venography, which I think is very important because you never know what you're going to get once you get the lead in there. And then we have maybe the most important aspect of the vein selector is that it's soft and flexible and can be advanced over wires deep into the target vein and then serve as a rail. So in this case, the hook vein selector has been advanced over two wires deep into this target vein, which then served as a rail over which we are able to advance the renal LVI subselector. And so you can hear that here's the tip of the vein selector, here's the tip of the 5.5 French renal LVI subselector. This was actually a previously failed case that wasn't so hard to do with the combination of the vein selector and the subselector. There are more examples on the YouTube channel which you can find by going to Bivy Tips. You Google YouTube videos Bivy Tips, and then you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your interest.